I live in the very best place in the world. I would defy anybody to argue or debate whether they live in a better place than where I live here. I basically live about 20 miles east of Vancouver. Vancouver, of course, is known as being the best city in the world. It's a city that has absolutely everything, extremely accessible from where I am, the main city center that is. I could go on and explain how much Vancouver is so much better place in the world, but I need not brag about that. But what is important is to define where in Vancouver is the best place to live. Certainly there are some places that are not as good as others, and some neighbors are much better than others. My neighborhood it happens to be the very best place in the entire whole Lower Mainland. Where I live, I basically live on 3 acres of a treed area of what is actually Maple Ridge. I can look out and see the trees, I can see nature. It's a situation where my large living room, I have a large picture window, and I do not need curtains because of total privacy of where I live. It's something that I can look out and see everything. In fact, yesterday, it was a really interesting thing. I was sitting looking out my library window, and an owl just scooped down into my pond, grabbed a frog, and flew up onto a branch 20 feet away from my window, and on that perch was devouring the particular frog that he had captured. It's not something you see every day, but it's interesting to see nature at its best. Or worse, depending on whether you're the owl or the frog, I imagine. I have on my property a half-mile trail that goes around my property itself. It goes along a creek. I have a 10-foot waterfall. It goes across a field, goes up a gradual trail to a nifty plateau. And it's the healthiest air that you can breathe to just go through all those trees and grass. Far enough away from any pollutants, no busy roadways. And air, of course, is an extremely important aspect to determine where a healthy place to live is. I know of an example of a woman that I know lived in Vancouver. She was an extremely health-conscious individual. She ran marathons. In fact, she would go running for an hour every day. However, she ran on the busy Vancouver streets because she thought it was very healthy and safe. And what happened? She died of cancer, of lung cancer. And I believe it was totally related to the air that she breathed in Vancouver. Sometimes when I go into Vancouver, I find it very difficult to breathe air that most people just assume is good and fresh. And that is just a custom that how people get used to. Where I live, I have pure, absolutely fantastic water. It's a drilled well. The water is so fresh, I don't need to add anything to it. It's fresh, underground mountain water. I couldn't add anything more to the quality. It's the neighborhood itself is an extremely safe neighborhood. In fact, I would say that the last 30 years we've had maybe a half a dozen break-ins. Whenever there is a break-in, it's certainly big news because it's absolutely a rare situation. If you want to argue that you can have a better and healthier and better place in the world, go ahead, but I certainly have the best place in the world.